Yes, lad, I can hear you now.
Are you all right, mate? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I don't know what was going on. My headphones weren't being picked up. So happy days. How are you, bud?
I'm all right. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well. All is good on the Western Front. Bit worse for wear, but we made it to Las Vegas in the end. So happy days.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. What do you think's been going on this week? Give me your views.
Oh, a lot of a whole lot of nothing really. Like the Fury stuff keeps on giving, obviously. Um Big Jaw and so on and so forth. Obviously, I know you've kind of covered the whole Frotch call out's almost old news at this point. But yeah, I found it funny when Frotch said they would do it for charity. I don't know how well that's gonna go down with Big John. So I would imagine that's gonna be the silver bullet to put an end to the madness. What do you reckon?
Wow. I don't know. They're all wanting to get at it, aren't they?
Completely. I saw another certain fella on a certain podcast today. I thought you would have a bit of interest in. On
How's
with a fella from Newcastle. I'm assuming you know who I'm talking about.
Newcastle? Oh, I don't know who that is.
Big Roly Poly was on with True Geordie. I don't know if you got a
Oh
look
yeah,
at it yet.
I seen it, mate. It was Fantasy Island, wasn't it?
I think I got about 4 or 5 minutes in and I lost my appetite. So, but again, the chances of it happening will I wouldn't be holding my breath.
You are.
I'm saying I wouldn't be holding my breath with the chances of it happening. Um, the two same fellas. Mr. Hunk and Mr. Roly Poly going at it. Well, if you're a betting man, what sort of bet would you put down that it's gonna take place?
It'll be a farce, won't it, if they fought one of them two? Wouldn't it? What could you imagine? It'd be like Panto, wouldn't it?
It would. You throw one, I throw one until somebody's shoulder pops out.
I
But
know.
yeah, it was funny enough. Again, it's just there's a certain track record or alleged track record. There were certain charitable donations before that there aren't many records of. So I just didn't think that I didn't think Hunk would give in to the whole charity proposition from the Cobra, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, what about this name Mickey Theo's been popping up a lot on Talksport, on with Frotch all over the place.
Yeah, well,
Um,
he wants to fight, let him fight. I mean, there's a lot of talk,
yeah,
but there's no fighting, is there?
I know. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, again, bigger picture. I think you kind of nailed it in terms of bit of deflection. You know what I mean? Let's take the attention somewhere else. And now the whole Fury Usyk thing is it's kind of been put on the back burner, which is obviously a good thing for them. But we'll see. Yeah, nothing's changed in terms of May 18th. I still think Usyk will be walking away with 10 mil in his back pocket. Maybe get back to maybe get back and see the family, see the newborn, and hopefully get some time to take it easy.
Well, we're going to see. Do you think that the big fella's going to fight Usyk in May then?
Not me. Not me. No, 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 no. I don't see it. When we spoke about it first, I was talking about 6 to 8 weeks, but again, I was kind of speculating. The more, you hear ex-pros, world champions, Hall of Famers talk about it, the consensus is more, 8 to 12 weeks for it to heal to where you can spar. So again, if we're talking 14 weeks away from the proposed fight, and you're not going to be sparring for 80% of it, how can it happen? I know you can do the road miles, you can do all this other stuff, but you don't want to be going in. If you're going to fight Usyk ever, you don't want to go in there and fight him with half a tank or just not sharp. But I know Usyk's getting on, like in terms of, I know he's the older man and whatnot, but the fact of the shape that he keeps himself in, um, I almost think the more time off might be better for Usyk than it's a bad thing. I'd like to get your opinion on that because he lives like a Spartan, doesn't drink, doesn't do anything, training 24/7. I mean, barring like an injury, or, again, like a cut or something bad happening, I think the extra time kind of gives Usyk, time to kind of fill out. Like, I know he's already filled out, but again, um, yeah, I don't really think it's a bad thing for Usyk. Again, I'd like to get your opinion on that, mate.
Well, I think Usyk won't be bothered. It's just if it's 3 months, isn't it? He's just gonna have to
Mm.
wait, isn't
So you don't think it's going to happen at all?
he? You know what? I have a feeling it will, because I think he's backed into a corner now, isn't he, really? He's chopped the
Hmm.
mouths off all this time now, hasn't it? And it's come to crunch where you've really got to fight somebody who's really, really, more than a match for you. And it looks
Yeah.
got to fight him now because there's all sorts of clauses in. I mean, if he didn't and he walked away, could you imagine they wouldn't be able to live it down, would they?
Not a chance, man. And I honestly think, like we talked about Canelo before, not fighting, in our opinions, not fighting the best guys. I think it would look worse on Fury's record or worse on his legacy if he didn't fight him over if he lost to him. Now, obviously, look, it depends how he lost. But if it was a close fight, tug of war, 7-5 either way, I know he won't live that down either, but I think if he walked away from the thing entirely and didn't fight him, I think that would look much worse. Way
Yeah.
worse. But again, I think it happens. Again, May 18th, no way. I think it'll probably happen, maybe tail end of December, September, October, something like that at the earliest. But yeah, I think the May 18th thing is a fantasy. But
Okay. What do you think to media? They're sort of giving him it, aren't they? Big John and Tyson, aren't they? Really?
they they are, but again, it's par for the course. I mean, if you're going to put it out, you should expect it. Like, obviously, the whole David Hay thing and the tweets from Fury back in the day, they've been exhumed 10 times over at this point. But if you're going to spurt that, I don't care if it's 10 plus years ago. If that's going to be your narrative, then you should be well equipped to take it now. Um, impressed from some, obviously from the usual suspects, you don't expect any different. I like I like the coverage from a certain 007, Johnny Nelson. I like that he's been digging out. I like that he's been digging out the Gad. I love that Simon Jordan's been digging out the Gad. So I think there's a couple of wee silver linings to it. I think
Yeah, they've all
some
turned on him, haven't they?
they have, but again, mate, like that phrase always come back to you. Get out what you put in. If you're gonna lie like a snake, you're gonna be treated like a snake. He's got his toes in everybody's pool, and you can only get away with that for so long. You know.
Painted toenails. Do you remember that? Stood on them rocks and they had painted toenails.
Oh, mate, the lad, he's just a
He's an utter weirdo freak, isn't he?
he's a grease merchant of the highest order from top to
Hey,
bottom. He's just very, very unlikable. I've given Jordan stick on here before, and kind of thinking about it, I think I was a bit harsh. And what do I mean by that? Now, the U-turn the U-turn Jordan's taking on the Ben stuff again until the evidence come out, we'll kind of keep it shut. But unless they've got a silver bullet, unless they've got a really, airtight case, then I think him making that U-turn it doesn't sit right with me at all. But generally, I would agree with, I would say 90% or, high 80s of what Jordan talks about with boxing. The point I'm making is, he's a well-talked guy, obviously, decent background, all this. But for the most part, take away the Ben situation, he says what he thinks. The Gad speaks well, all the rest, but he's just a sword for hire. That's all he is to the highest bidder when things are rolling around. Like when the whole AJ train gets going again, if he does beat Ngannou, he'll be the first man in the door. Oh, he's 3 times, you know what I mean? Like flavor of the month. But people are starting to see it even within his own circles, and I think it's great. It's just crap media. You can spin it whatever way you want, whether it's when he was on with Catterall and he was like acting like Warren's lawyer, or whether it's just like general slurping or tense up your legs. Like I said, mate, it's just greasy behavior from top to bottom.
the God
So
needs help, doesn't he, really?
he does. He does. Starting with a new tailor, maybe.
I mean, Fury's, hasn't he?
So you cut out there for 1 second, but what'd you say? Last thing I heard was the Furies.
I'm just saying he's been PR man for Furies, hasn't he?
He
And
has.
they put him out in front, and now go tell him we didn't get knocked out. Tell him we knocked him down, and he's been repeating for them, and they've all been having a fucking laugh at him, haven't they? Right, and he's dug himself an hole from here to Calcutta, hasn't he?
Oh, completely. But you know, he's caught himself out. He's reaping what he sowed. You know, like obviously he was telling any man, woman, or child that would listen for the longest time, you know, that he's been following Fury for his whole career, and he's a friend of the family, and you know this and that. And then obviously, yeah, a couple of months ago they turned the back on him, and the IFL tried to ask him about it, and he almost ran away crying and stuff. But if you're going to lie in multiple beds, you know, you can't really get upset when somebody kicks you out of one. And that's what happened. And for however he's done it, weaseling, whatever, you know, he's back in the good graces for now. But again, look, that team know what they're doing in terms of, you know, they need somebody, they need a slurper, basically. They need someone to spread the message. And no better man than Greasy God.
Greasy God. He's here,
Gre-
he's everywhere, isn't he? Lock up your daughters, lock up your granddaughters and your
uh,
babysitters.
oh, he's all over the place, mate. Like I say, Greasy God. That's just
Well, what happened when they got Bricktop on and he were there with the guard and Bricktop set about Adam Cattrall? The guard just sat there and didn't say boo, did he?
that's what I was talking about earlier, mate. Like
Weasel
completely.
behavior. Weasel.
And not even, it'd be different if he just sat there quietly. But like I said, he was almost being Warren's lawyer. You could see Catterall's face, you know, like he was getting ambushed from the side. It was like William Wallace and Braveheart. He didn't know what to do with himself. Like I say, if your own team, and when I say team, I mean Talksport, if your own colleagues are, you know, quite quickly rinsing you out on national radio, you're doing something quite wrong. But we'll let him at it, mate. Again, people are seeing through the crap. Obviously, you know, Porky's Corner, the hardcores already knew, but even now the mainstream is kind of picking up on it. So
I always knew he was a weasel. I told everybody. I shook up the world. I'm telling you, the guard. We
I
were on
know.
from from day one, mate. Honestly,
Uh,
we
so
were on to him. We knew what he was.
yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean?
just, I mean, even like, you know, this kind of mentality, like I don't have any problem with, look, there's YouTube channels about everything. Cooking, crime, doesn't really matter, right? So there's going to be YouTube channels about everything. That's normal. It's par for the course in today's day and age. I don't really have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is the likes of GAD, IFL, you know, these channels, they always maintain this narrative that, you know, they love the sport and they want to see the sport grow and they want the best stuff for the sport. If they came out point blank and were just like, look, listen, I'm in here to make a pound note. I'm in media. You know, I don't really care about boxing that much. I don't care about the respectability and the credibility of the sport. At least if people were up front, I'd be like, all right, I know where you're coming from. You know what I mean? Like, will I subscribe? Of course I wouldn't. But at least you would know up front. But it's this narrative that, you know, we're trying to bring more eyes to the sport and we're trying to do, you're bringing eyes to evil's too strong a word, but you're bringing eyes to bullshit. You know what I mean? And you're spinning this crap that you're being told to spin. And I think ultimately it's going to kill the sport. I mean, it is. It already is. You know what I mean? I mean,
These
it's no
people
coincidence.
I hold responsible. They need sentencing by me, and then they need time in HMP Portville. That's what they
Oh,
need. They need torturing these people.
jeez.
What they've done to this sport.
Oh, the
So
Guantanamo.
these media people, these lickers that are letting these people spin their narratives and stopping them ask proper questions because they're all getting free gratis. Been going on too long.
Oh, way too long, bud. Oh, stick them in the hole. Absolutely.
Him in the hole. Listen, get them stocks out that Tony Bellew wanted to stone people in for PED abuse. We'll lend them because he's never gonna use them because half of them that are failing are his mates.
I
You know,
know.
pop, pop, bang.
I mean, look. There's a way to. Like again, people have to make a living, and I get that. So I know certain people have to toe a certain line, but there's guys that do it in a classy, respectable way. Like I'm a big fan of Catterall. I know obviously Bricktop and certain people have their opinions on him. And again, I'm not saying everything that comes out of his mouth is perfect. And I know he works for Talksport, but I think he does a really good job at, at least staying somewhere close to the middle. A guy like Carl Frampton as well, who, as a boxer, he's one of my all-time favorites. But
Yeah,
even as a pundit now, again, obviously he works for TNT. I get that, and he can't rock the boat too much, but he still gets his opinion across when he can. Obviously he had that dust up with John Fury when he said what he said about Tommy and Jake Paul, and then even when the Ngannou Fury fight was happening, he was very honest. He saw the fight as he saw it. Um, so this mentality of you have to be a licker or you have to be two sides of the coin. You got Porky's corner or you got the lickers. You can be in the middle. Do you agree with that? Like you don't doesn't have to be all licking. There can be some truth in there.
yeah. What's Eddie Hill's role in all this anyway? With this DAZN and Darren Barker commentating on Sims fighters, and he was a Sims fighter. What's all this nonsense?
Yeah, cozy corner. Um,
Eh?
I mean, again, obviously, there's levels of jobs for the boys. There's just you can have a certain element of the people that you trust and the people you want about you. But again, if it's going to be 100% licking, then again, people just see through it. People see through the commentary. People see through the hype, the fake hype. The pulling the better beeves name through the mud for the atypical finding, the contradictions. People see through it, but I'd be surprised if there's an overhaul at the zone anytime soon. Like in
Yeah.
terms of if they're going to keep Matchroom and Eddie, I don't see the likes of Barker, Bellew, and stuff. I don't see them getting their papers until the whole thing folds up
Yeah.
entirely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't see it. Obviously, unless something brutal happens with one of them, or there was whatever. But like the way things are going now, I don't see them shaking it up, man. No, no way.
No, they're going to have the pals being pundits on the pals, aren't they?
Yeah, but again, you can be in the middle. Like I remember before. I think it was the first Usyk fight. Joshua Usyk won. Remember listening to an interview with Barker back then, and he said very bluntly, he was like, "I don't know if anyone on planet Earth beats Usyk." And he said this before the fight, and at the time I was kind of like, "That's very refreshing." That was, you know what I mean? It kind of it caught me off guard. Um, but what was he doing? He was just giving, an all-time great. He's deserved props. He wasn't putting AJ under the bus. He wasn't, throwing AJ to the dogs. He would just say, in that one occurrence, he was saying it how he saw it. There's no big problem with that. Again, I go
Well,
back to the likes of
the big Usyk up as a super, 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 super god because it needed that to beat their man AJ.
yeah,
That's how I look at it. I mean, Tony Bellew, they didn't have much respect for Usyk, and then when Usyk put him on button moon, all of a sudden Tony Bellew was saying he's greater than Ali
mm,
because
that's
he got filled in by him. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? They just
no,
beat themselves up. Every time he sees Usyk, Tony Bellew, I swear to God, it looks like he's going to get down on his knees and say, "We're not worthy, lad. We're not worthy, lad." You know what I mean?
no.
When he's in his
And,
presence, you can see, honestly, Bellew just loves to hang out at back of Usyk, doesn't he?
oh,
He
he's his
says,
biggest
"Look, this
fan
is the
now.
guy that beat me." But what he's really trying to say is, it took this sort of guy to do me. Listen, Usyk never got out of second gear.
I know, I know.
He win
It was
for a few
just,
pounds.
yeah. I just thought it was surprising as well that they did it before the AJ fight. Like again, we go back to Brooke
If
and
that went to
Golovkin.
points, Usyk were going to get shafted, mate.
Mm,
Them cards, they were shocking. Oh,
they
that the
were
ref
poor.
were in control. He were grinning all the way through it. He were
Yeah,
having
they were.
a around, wasn't he? Come on, we need
He,
to. People need to get off this. He were winning. Even the Cobra got it wrong, mate. Honestly, He were playing with him, mate. Absolutely playing with him.
Yeah, I think the levels were on show. But again, if you're gonna have this energy where you're gonna big lads up, I remember very, very clearly before it was at the weigh-in, the final weigh-in and the face-off for Kell Brook Golovkin. And I always used to try and catch the Eddie Hill sound bites before the fight just to see what he's going to come up with. And when he got off stage, he was like, almost quote for quote, he said, "Oh, maybe I'm clutching at straws, but Golovkin doesn't look great today." And you're sending a lad in almost on a suicide mission, and that's the best you can come up with the day before the fight. Like, the fella looks like he's got the flu. That's what you know what I mean. That's what you're going to use to sell the fight. It's I don't know. It's madness, bud. It's absolutely madness.
He's got an
But
aura about him, man, Usyk. You think?
oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, he's a serious guy. It's the simplest and best way to put it. He's and I like. Obviously, I'm a massive Loma fan, but that whole camp, but like Papachenko and even Usyk's management team, I just like the way they handle themselves. They're just
Look what they did
classy.
with Dubois. Look what they did with Dubois. They set him at a pace that he could box 16, 18 rounds. And Dubois couldn't believe how shattered he were after 5 rounds. He couldn't believe it.
Mm,
And he were in shock. And so I don't know what he does to her. I don't know if they're burning up nervous energy or what, because Dubois don't look to me like he's some big mover. But he were all burnt up, wasn't he?
he was, and
You know what I mean?
yeah, you can not all the time, but there's certain instances where you can tell a lot
He don't leave him
from.
alone, does he, Usyk? Does he? He's on him constantly, and if you watch.
Oh, he's relentless. He's relentless, and I'd say like from a mental standpoint, obviously, you're going to burn out physically. It's a boxing match, but I think you could see Dubois mentally trying to keep up with him.
Mm.
And I would imagine that it looks like torture. I would imagine it just fries. Sure, AJ was the same in the first fight. Well, both, but more specifically in the first fight, it was, he looked like a broken robot at times. And I'm not even trying to dig him out saying that. He just looked like he was utterly confused in there, like he didn't know which way to turn.
Yeah,
It
he's
looked
not seen anything like that, had he?
nothing,
Do you
nothing.
know what? You've got to give Joshua credit for trying to stay with him, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely. And again, credit where credit's due. I try and keep things as balanced as possible. Joshua's resume, obviously, Hill's overhypes it a lot. I'll never ever dispute that for a second. But the one thing you have to give, in my opinion, you have to give Joshua and Deontay Wilder over Fury is Joshua's resume mightn't be the best, but he's never pulled out of a fight. When he signed on the dotted line, obviously McCracken, the rumors he didn't want him to take the Usyk fight and stuff. When he signs on the dotted line, he shows up. And then if you kind of flip the Wilder for a second, I think Ortiz was the mandatory the first time when he was the boogeyman. Nobody wanted to fight him. Great fight. I know Ortiz might have been older and stuff. But the fact that Wilder fought him twice, like if I was Wilder's manager the second time around, like I would have been like, man, what are you thinking getting in with this fella again? Like he schooled you for 8. I know you finished him in the end, but like there's no need for us to get in with this lad again. And he got in and he was getting smashed for 6 rounds or he was getting absolutely schooled and he just put that equalizer on him. So, you got to give the fellas credit for when they sign on the dotted line, they don't usually go back on their word.
What style has Usyk not seen?
None. Seen it all 10 times over.
Yeah. He done beat Ivan Kovalev in amateurs, didn't he? And Joe Joyce.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just a special, special guy. I mean, again, I couldn't be higher up on that, Lomachenko Usyk camp. And I think, the big thing holding the boys back nowadays outside of the hardcores is, they don't sell tickets like other people do, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, there's been loads of sports stars where, they don't get fully appreciated until, they retire, until the dust settles. Like I know Usyk's still unbeaten and he's got that flawless record.
Yeah.
But the likes of Lomachenko and stuff, I just don't think he gets the respect. Well, he gets the respect, but he doesn't get the eyes that he deserves now. But I think when history's said and done, and people are looking back at some of the stuff he was doing, especially early in his career, they'll say that fella was an absolute game changer. But again, it's all about putting asses in the seats for now. That's why the boys don't get what they properly deserve.
Adam, do you think that their European style and how they go about the business over there? Do you think there's a lot to be learned from our lot in UK?
You mean like could the UK learn from it? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, would it be good for UK amateurs and the coaches to go over there and just have a look at how they
Ah,
train?
absolutely. Of course. Like if
What's
to
going on over
me,
there? If they're not cheating, they're like hard as nails, aren't they? These
they're
Kovalev, Golovkin, Loma, Usyk, Klitschko's. Do you know what I mean? They're like cyborgs, aren't they?
special guys. Obviously it's a tough part of the world. You look at Golovkin from a young fella and stuff,
Just look at the
but
weather, mate. I look out in the morning and I think, oh no, not again. I mean, I have your mind in it, but they lap it up, don't they? I mean, Usyk jumping in a fish pond, using it as an ice bath.
I know
So that about just sat there cool as a cooper, didn't even flinch. So
oh,
that about
they're just a
the
different
ice
breed.
then.
Different breed, but sorry to cut across you there. It's a different breed. I mean, I think a good kind of comparison, like if you look at the football, like let's take a guy like let's take a Luis Suarez that used to play for Liverpool. Now, I know he's far from perfect. I know the biting incidents and stuff, and like I know he's a bit of a madman,
Magician, isn't it?
but oh, unbelievable! But you look at like South Americans, and like there's been a load, but Suarez is the most recent one. Like that fellow was sweeping the streets to make a living when he was a young fella out in Uruguay.
Yeah.
Like these lads come from tough upbringing. There's none of this golden generation from the UK where you're getting tucked in the bed and you're getting your back packed or your bat packed, saying you're going to be the best player in the world, you're going to win a Ballon d'Or. Like the likes of Suarez, he made it to where he made it, in my opinion, because in his mind there was no choice. There was only one way to succeed. Like these boys are hungry as dogs, as starved dogs, and you can see that from that Eastern Bloc too. Like all the names you rhymed off there, like
Yeah.
these lads are they're just built different. And losing and not training and partying, this is not in the playbook at all. Tough
No.
people, man. Major respect.
Yeah, there's none of that Mr. Saturday night, is there? Like we've got over here.
No, no. I don't even know if they're eating takeaways. Again, they're just serious people, take it serious. And they see their careers as a very finite thing. And like you said, look, listen, if you take away, if like you said, if they're not cheating, then they're the elite of the elite. Like if you were trying to restructure an amateur program, or let's even say the Saudis. Let's say the Saudis are as interested as they say they are in building out the infrastructure. I know they're connected with Joe G, but Joe G seems like a pretty open dude. They could learn a lot from Papachenko in terms of how to run camps, just discipline, mentality. The stuff that you can't teach. Um, it has to be bred into you day after day. No, they're special, mate. I can't say enough good stuff about the lads.
When you look at the Americans, the ones that have done well, your Mayweathers and Hopkins, they've had it. Marvin Hagler, they didn't have it easy, did they?
No, no, no. I mean, you see it. It's not even specific to the Eastern Bloc or South America. You see it anywhere. Like if people have a hard slog growing up, again, it's that hunger. It's they don't want to go back to where they were. They see that as the ultimate failure or the ultimate evil. So how do they get out of that? They get out of it by working their socks off and just digging in the heels. And yeah, I mean you can see it. Like athleticism and stuff and training will only get you so far. But if you don't have it between the ears, you're eventually going to get found out. And I think that's kind of what's happening with Big Tyson at the minute. Like again, we can talk about his fate percentage has gone down, and we can talk about maybe his legs. He's not the same fighter that he was, but in his peak, he was an athletic marvel. Like I know he mightn't have looked that good physically, but like the size and the weight he was carrying with how good he could move, like it was unbelievable. But I think now what's showing it's he might be physically in the decline, but I think this whole thing with Usyk is more mental than physical, and I don't know if that's a problem you can solve, if ever, or I don't know if you definitely can't solve it by May 18th. I don't know if you can get it solved by the end of the year, but we'll see, man. We will see.
Do you think that all this him coming out now is just bravado then? Where he's come out on it today or something and said it's on and all this and been foul mouthed again and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll believe the fight's happening when I hear that bell go. Um, they could do press conferences, they could do all the rest. I just don't see. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a trainer, whatever. I just don't see how May 18th happens. But it kind of surprises me. Like, is Turkey Al Sheikh, Bricktop, the Fury Camp, are they all in on this not happening on the May 18th? You know what I mean? Because they're all very staunch in the fact that they think it's going to happen. Now, do you think that maybe the Fury camp is telling Turkey and Bricktop what they want to hear? Or, do you think they're all kind of in consensus as, all right, look, listen, behind closed doors, we've already agreed, Usyk's getting these 10 million, Fury camp are getting their extra 3-4 months. We're going to do the fight in September. I just don't see why they would all put their name on this if they thought there was any doubt. I don't know, mate. Maybe I'm going too deep into it, but
See, thing is, once you tell a lie, all you say is no good, so nobody knows where they are with him, do they? Everybody's confused, aren't they, really?
yeah. So we'll see. But um yeah.
Sold it division up, innit?
Oh, completely. Complete. But this isn't anything new, and especially it's not anything new with the WBC. Like you look at the likes of a Jamal Charlo, like the 160 guy, or the older brother. I mean, I think he held the belt. I think it was over 2 years without a fight. And I know he came back, but it was at a catch weight, and even at that, he must have wait. But they put him in the champion in recess now. Like, that's a good 2.5 years, almost coming up on 3 years, where a fella's holding up a belt at middleweight or super middle. And, it'll be different. Like, I'm not saying it's right, but I kind of understood it with a Canelo or these lads that make loads of money. I kind of get it from a business standpoint, but unless I'm very mistaken, like Jamal Charlo doesn't sell that well. Like I don't get it. The WBC used to be revered as, the ultimate prize, the ultimate belt. But, people make fun of the IBO and all this. It's I don't think the WBC belt's worth near as much as it used to be. Like its reputation's getting worse by the day.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that Bricktop and Eddie will stay mates forever?
Not a chance. Not a chance. No way. I think the War of Words will reconvene um, once the whole Saudi thing peters out, if it does peter out. And I don't know. I just don't see them. I just don't see them as two old men sitting having cigars and having a whiskey down the line. I just can't see it. I don't think their personalities line up like that. So I think it'll be back to the Cold War once this money dries up.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, do you not? Like,
I don't
I,
know. Maybe George Warren can smooth it, can't he? Because they can't come back to UK and then go back to how it was because it's already in bits, isn't it, in UK?
very true.
Come back and work together, aren't they, in UK? Surely. I mean, it's all parked up, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really good point you make, mate, where, like you say it's almost like telling a lie. They're in so deep now. I mean, I think collectively, the sport of boxing is in such a bad place that maybe they do smell the coffee where they're like, look, the sport's dying. We can't fill small hall shows. We can't get kids in boxing. Maybe we need to make some lemonade. So no, you could be right. I just don't think I don't think Bricktop and Hearn like each other at all. I know that's not a hot take, but I think there's a lot of talking and smiling through gritted teeth now, because it's all about ego too. Like, if they're going to work together, like in anything in life, there's always a B side and an A side. I don't care, how you chop it up, even if it's 51-49, that fella with the extra 2% still gets to have the last laugh. So if George, who's done a good job to his credit so far, if he can keep the two lads' egos in check, then maybe there's a chance. But you're asking two people to kind of change their DNA in order to make peace. Can one of them do it? Maybe. I just don't see the two lads giving each other um, the necessary, respect or rope to do it. So we'll see. We'll see. I hope it happens, but like I said, I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that Bricktop probably wants to team up in UK more than Eddie would?
It's a good question. I think so. Like if you put a gun to my head and you said who is the biggest ego, um, I would
Say
say it's a I
Eddie.
would say it's a Billericay blagger for sure, you know.
Eddie's got the big E, hasn't he?
He does. He does. Look, that's my opinion. Like I'm not saying either of them are innocent, but yeah. I mean, it shows in the way Eddie's handled himself in the US. So when DAZN came over, I don't care how much money they had. He had to know because he's a smart guy behind it all. He had to know that just like they're doing the Ben Shalom, Aram, Heyman, these guys aren't going to like me coming in on their turf. So I'm not saying he should have kissed ass, but I think, and De La Hoya especially, I don't think he handled the situation well. Like he's always putting his foot in it. He's always doing it to this day. He's always saying these wee underhanded, smug things. Like when Steven Espinoza packed up Showtime Boxing, Hearn was congratulating him. You can see in the back of his mind he's doing cartwheels with excitement. Um, so yeah, I think the zone could have been a much bigger success if Hearn had spoken about the guys a bit more like he speaks about Dana White, but he didn't, and obviously we've seen what's transpired since.
Yeah. Okay, dokie then. Well, listen, thanks for coming on, Adam.
Anytime, bud. I'll send you a few bits and bobs from the fight tonight, and then sure we'll do a bit of a breakdown on Sunday when I get back. Get
Okay,
back to the mainland. All right, bud.
you take care.
Top man. Cheers, Russ.
Right. Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for liking and subscribing. Leaving a comment.